Welcome, everyone, to our AirMiners Town Hall for June 2024. I'm Jason Grillo with AirMiners. And without further ado, I want to say once again, welcome. Glad to see you here. Run of show is to be a little bit of a different town hall than we normally have. And for the details of that, I will hand the stage over to CEO of AirMiners, Tito Jankowski. Tito.
Yo, good morning, air miners. Hey, everybody. Hey, dancers and singers. And we got everybody here. Hi. Good to see you all. Wow. Great to see so many people here. Wow. Awesome. Look, welcome to AirMiners Town Hall. I encourage everybody to turn on their cameras and say hi. This is the world of air miners. These are all people that you're looking at from all over the freaking planet, calling in to figure out how do we reverse climate change. So this event is for you. This event is for air miners. It's by air miners, and we're on a mission to reverse climate change. And so today we're going to be working together on that. As Jason wrote in the invitation, today is about you. It's about you taking action. So first off, here's what's happening. 2024 is the hottest year on record. According to NASA, the 10 hottest years on record since 1880 are the last 10 years. At the same time, most media, if you read the New York Times, other publications, they're reporting that carbon removal is something it's extra. It's something that's optional, that all we need to do is decarbonize. And while decarbonization alone may have been enough a decade ago, emissions continue to grow. And so in 2018, and then again in 2023, the IPCC climate consensus reported that to hold a stable climate at 2 degrees of warming, decarbonization is not enough. Our climate needs at least 10 billion tons of removals per year by 2050, on top of massive decarbonization. So the latest is there is a new model from Rocky Mountain Institute that says to be on track for that 10 billion tons by 2050, we need to be removing 285 million tons per year by the end of 2030. Last year, only about 200,000 tons of carbon dioxide were removed. So even at a 50% year-over-year growth rate, that only gets us to 3.4 million tons per year by 2030, which is far short of the Rocky Mountain Institute model for 285 million tons per year. So to be on track for that 2030 target, we need to triple every year for the next 6 years. That means 600,000 tons this year, 1.8 million tons next year, and onwards. Right now, from what I can tell, we're on track for about 400,000 tons of removals this year. There's a gap of about 200,000 tons, and it looks to be on the buyer side. So from talking with people on the supplier side, there is quality carbon removal available to be removed this year, but there's not buyers for it. At about $300 a ton on average, that means there's about a $60 million gap for this year. And at the same time, we're seeing some of the most exciting companies we've ever seen in our startup accelerator, but we're also seeing a slowdown in seed stage investment with the larger economy, with the upcoming election in the USA, with uncertainty about just what is this carbon removal stuff. And so here's what we're on track for right now. The media is going to continue reporting that decarbonization alone is enough. Interest in carbon removal is going to continue to grow, right? You're going to be out talking to people, and people are going to kind of figure out, hey, this isn't really going in the right direction. Investors are going to start to hear about carbon removal, and buyers are going to start to hear about it, but it'll be kind of organic and slow, and we'll miss the window to grow in 2024, and then we'll miss for 2025 and 26, and we'll get to 2030, and we'll be far short of that 285 million tons per year needed. And so without scaling the supply of removals and the purchasing of removals, we'll have no way to avert the worst impacts of the changing climate, the drought, the famine, the migrations, the wars, and we'll miss out on the opportunity of being the generation that proves that we can change the climate for the better, that proves we can take carbon out of the sky and not just add more. So imagine we figure out how to close that 200,000 ton demand gap by December 31st. We get 600,000 tons of carbon into the ground by the end of the year, and we triple from removals last year. Imagine at the same time, we get the world on board that carbon removal is necessary alongside decarbonization in the media, at dinner tables, in boardrooms. That's where we unlock new investment, new purchases, and we learn all we can from these early removals. From removing a ton this year, we learn something that helps for the next year and the year after that. And we can get things in place to triple to that 1.8 million tons in 2025, 285 million tons in 2030. And what really that results in is, imagine that carbon removal is established as part of the climate solution alongside decarbonization. That's where we get the whole planet on track to unlock 10 billion tons of carbon dioxide removed by 2050. That's how we get a healthy planet. That's how we get a thriving human civilization. So this is AirMiners Town Hall. And it's our opportunity as a community to make that into a reality. So I'm really thrilled to see all of you here. Now, one thing I want to point out is it's summertime. Some of you probably have vacations planned. You're working on that big family barbecue, and you're getting your photo slide deck together to share with the family. Maybe you're even on vacation right now. Maybe you're biking around the Grand Canyon, and you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, I'm like loving it. So vacations are awesome, but it doesn't mean things actually need to slow down. So I want to let you know that this isn't your usual town hall. We're going to be working together in breakout rooms. We're going to be on camera talking with each other. Think about this next hour as an opportunity for you to set yourself up for things moving forward, to keep things going, and to set up other air miners here to keep things moving forward. So here's how it's going to work. As I said, please turn on your camera now if you haven't already, so we can see you, we can talk with you. And in a few minutes, we're going to split you all up into breakout rooms of 4 to 6 people for 15 minutes. So here's the instructions for the breakout rooms. We're going to get things going pretty quick. You're going to introduce your name, where you are in the world, the city and your country, and then pick the next person. So I would say, hey, my name is Tito. I'm currently in Kapa'au, Hawaii. And then I want Jason to speak next. So it's just, and then you go around and everybody says hi. And then you go into who has an idea they want to share in 1 minute. I know many of you already have ideas that you're thinking about to contribute to this. Maybe your things are already working on. And so, share those. And then ask who has something you want to add on to the idea. So get input from 1 or 2 people, something where they're saying, oh yeah, here's how this could work. Or, I have another idea that could kind of build on this. And then move on to the next idea. Who else has something they want to share. We're going to put that into the chat, so you have the instructions there. So the whole idea is, share a bunch of ideas. What would make a difference towards selling 200,000 tons of carbon dioxide removal this year above what's already being sold? Could you do crowdfunding campaigns, get more corporations with SBTI targets to actually buy credits this year, to actually pay for removals that happen this year? What would make a difference towards changing the conversation from decarbonization to decarbonize and remove and now? Could you create a global movement for carbon removal, a concert series, a movie series? What would make a difference for unlocking new investors and supporters for 2024, 2025, and beyond? So get those ideas out and talk about them in your groups. Great. So we got the instructions there in the chat, and those will be in the chat when you move into the breakout room, so you can check those out. One last thing, you might have somebody in your group who doesn't come on camera or unmute during the introductions. Maybe they're driving, maybe they just want to listen. So keep the conversation going with the people who do introduce themselves. All right, let's get to it. With that, Deborah, do you have everybody ready to send into breakout rooms?
Of course I do. Here we go.
Yes, of course you do. Let's go. Awesome. I want to acknowledge we had some room changes. People were moving around at the beginning. There might have been people in your room that were on mute and didn't contribute, or people that hopped out. There were people who dropped in at the end of the conversation. Maybe you had to bring them up to speed, right? Like, hey, here's this new person. We've got this idea we want to share with them. Let's include all of it. And I want to acknowledge you for being the ones that are here today. Whether you're listening, whether you're coming with ideas, whether you're building on ideas, it is you, and you're here because you're on a mission to reverse climate change. And so what I want to do next is to have each group, somebody from each group, share for 1 minute about one of the ideas that came up in your group. So to start, just raise your hand, and we'll get started with that. So you can just pick. It can be an idea that you were sharing about. It can be an idea that somebody else talked about, and you just wanted everybody else to hear about it. So we'll take up a couple of those. It'd be good to hear what came up in the rooms. And so you can hit the there is a button in Zoom, react. On mine it's a heart, but you could use heart. Or actually, no, there's a hand raise button. Okay, Jack, hey, what do you got?
I'm unmuted. Okay, let me take my hand down. I got to figure out all these buttons. We had a nice conversation, but we were still early in the sharing mode. We didn't really get a chance to dive too deeply in yet because we were going around the group. Everybody was engaged. We were a static group, which was nice. We came up with kind of two themes, and I think both are valuable. One is to make sure the messaging is right at a global scale, that carbon removal is required and necessary and a core part of achieving 1.5C globally, and making sure that that's a clear understanding across all the players in the space. A lot of people talk about the priority for decarbonizing first, and we'll remove what's left, right? That kind of thing. But when you read into the details of the IPCC, it's clear somewhere between 40 and 50% of what we ultimately need to achieve to get to net zero is going to come from removals. So I think we need to start making that message clear, because most people in the world, even in the space, don't recognize that it's that big of a number. And in order to get to that big of a number by 2050 or whenever we achieve net zero, we got to kind of start scaling it pretty soon. But the other group was very interested in tactical action. And again, we were just getting to the point where we were figuring out what we could do to grow tactical action. There were some thoughts about on-ramping and making it as easy as possible for larger investors and larger corporates to wade through the messiness of the current chaos in the markets, to very easily identify how to play in the markets and how to actively purchase carbon removal credits. And I thought that was a worthwhile observation, and that was one of our earlier good ideas. Those are my thoughts.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Jack. Thank you. And what group are you in? You know, group. I think it was 7. You're back on mute.
Sorry, I wasn't even sure which group. I think it was 7.
There you go. Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Jack, and thank you your group. Greg.
Got to find
Hey.
the unmute button.
There you go.
So the pie in the sky idea, what we need, and apologize for the Americanized reference here, but is a Jerry Lewis type Earth Day AirMiners telethon. How can we drive wider attention about the problem, about how far behind we are, and also, hey, here's the money, here's opportunities to invest to help, solve this problem. And, it's kind of sounds like a little bit of a goofy idea, but it's going to solve the problem of wider awareness. And if you do it in conjunction with something like, Kickstarter campaigns for the various projects that get featured, whatever, you might end up with small amounts of investments, and then you might end up with larger institutional people being educated as well as getting excited. So an idea for the discussion.
Cool. I love that. A 24-hour telethon all about carbon removal. Thanks for that, Greg. And then up we have, how do you say your name? Ball?
Yeah, Bob.
Ball. All right. Hey.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. So we were group 3, and I basically introduced myself, and I proposed, the idea I'm working on. And so all of us kind of moved in that direction, and we discussed. 2 of us were working on biochar, and I have a technology that I've developed with Z-Carbon for low energy, low cost direct air capture, which produces baking soda as an output. And so the conversation got into, well, what stage you're at, and ultimately when are you going to start selling the credits. And so the bigger message for us technology folks, or people who are developing technology, is that it's better to start connecting with customers now, and into the conversation, and communicating the value proposition and understanding their need, and what we can offer to them, and maturing that carbon removal as a net zero goal, as a pathway towards achieving net zero for those companies, should be something that we should be doing while we are still developing our technology, or whilst we are still scaling our technology from kilogram to 1 ton or beyond, rather than waiting. It's better to do it sooner than rather than later.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Yeah, that the scale of progress that's needed is so fast, and so it's like if we can remove tons this year, let's get to it. Thank you for that, Phil.
Great. So the idea that I broached was we produce a sea upwelling pump. So we sell pumps, not tons. And we've come up with a fractional ownership or fractional sale. 1/10 of a pump is $50,000 up front. We aggregate 10 buyers, and that allows us to get the money up front and put that pump in the water and begin removing CO2 through the marine biological and solubility effects. And we also are initiating a program to sign up what we call climate aware people, who get a 10% commission for selling these fractional shares. 1/10 of the pump for 50 grand. We got a student who has student loans, $5,000. So that's our marketing approach. Fractional sales of a piece of hardware, cash up front, solves the cash flow problem. We're not selling tons, which happen, but we're not. We don't have to wait for them to happen to get our money, and that's the main thing. It's cash flow is king when you're a startup.
Oh, I love that. I love that you're breaking whatever the mold is, you're breaking it, right? You're like, okay, here's kind of how we've been thinking about this, right? The model is, big Fortune 500 companies are going to make purchases, and you're like, hey, let's change the Fortune 500 part, and let's change the purchase part, and we're going to converge at the same place, which is reversing climate change.
And 50 grand is money. They don't even. There's no budget problem with 50 grand for a big company.
Sure.
They can.
It's something that a local group could fundraise for. My hometown raised like $400,000 to repair the pool, and that was like they were just selling like lunches. They were selling like barbecue lunch tickets, So it's like, okay, cool. You start to be able to unlock people to actually play a role in this. Thanks for that, Phil.
Yeah. Okay.
Ben, what's up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember the number of our group, but I'll try to just summarize the discussion. So anyone else in our group, jump in if I've got the message wrong. But we had a specific conversation, and it raised a general issue. So the specific conversation we had was around biochar. Biochar was, if you like, there was the greatest sort of commonality as far as technologies in the group. And Titus, he's actually driving across Tanzania at the moment. So Titus runs a company called Clean Carbon Africa, and they're working with a large number of small biochar producers. And so his company is bringing all that biochar together. And the key issue, the specific problem or issue that Titus raised was really about what do investors in the biochar space, what are investors looking for? And we were lucky enough to have Gord in our group. I can see the screen here, and Gord is an investor in the space. So the conversation was very much about what do biochar producers need to do, or what should they be doing to attract that investment. So that was the start of the conversation. And around that was standards. Titus is working with Puro as a standard, in order to get that validation and accreditation. But I think that the general issue that raises is really, we've got a complicated ecosystem. We've got the marketplaces in the middle. We've got suppliers on one end and the buyers on the other. And Taito, you set up the call at the top of the call. You said we need more buyers. But I think there's a general issue about what are buyers and investors, the two key stakeholders, what are they looking for when they're looking to invest or when they're looking to purchase. I think one of the answers is quality, but I think we didn't have time to go beyond that, but I think that there's an interesting discussion about how we keep, how do we keep both sides of the equation happy, and how do we get them working together?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I've done to kind of jump myself into this is to become a buyer myself. So I've bought like first tons from some teams, including some people here. Hey, and it really is. You get the experience of like, what are you thinking about? You are buying invisible gas removed from the sky that's expensive, and it's like, okay, here's all these things you start to think about. So I love that, Ben. Thanks for that. Josh from Oasis.
Hey everyone. Yeah, I just wanted to chime in for some group 10. I think like a lot of other people landed on here, we kind of centered on how do we galvanize the individual consumer, as well, and open that up, kind of to your last point too, Tito. Whether that's broadening, awareness and kind of celebrity endorsement, that type of thing, or just making making the avenues for consumers more obvious. And then I think the big kind of hairy, audacious goal is, especially in the US, what can any of us, if anything, do to push something like the expansion of 45Q to the individual consumer? So, if this becomes something like a tax write-off, obviously that's, that's again a huge goal, and it's not going to happen overnight. But in terms of really unlocking the potential of the consumer, that would obviously go a long way.
Well, I love that idea. You have your 1040 form and it has a line for your 45Q discount. Awesome. Thanks, Josh. Adam.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, listening to this and hearing Philip from CO2 Zero talk, it occurs to me that part of the problem is the problem of scale in terms of getting investments and having buyers of the credits. So maybe there's an opportunity there for a number of different, like CO2 Zero does enhanced rock weathering, to create a co-op of those companies that do that, and then you have some scale that may be more interesting to an investor. He's facing a classic chicken and egg problem. He can't get the work done until he's got the money, but he can't get the money until the work's being done. And then we could create community co-ops that are buying carbon credits just based on our local communities. Like you said, it's not hard to raise money in a community if you get people enrolled in the problem.
I love that. Yeah, you start seeing buyers everywhere. You start seeing investors everywhere. You start seeing people who want to contribute everywhere. Yeah, I really love that.
If all of these companies could be selling credits, that's going to solve part of their funding problem right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I love that. Awesome. I'm looking through the notes. I love these ideas. There's the messaging at the global scale. There's the AirMiners Telethon, working on biochar and DAC together, selling pumps, not tons. Really getting, individual consumers, celebrity endorsements, this whole world of like, how do we activate communities, creating co-ops? I want to hear from the whole group, like, raise your hand did you hear something that you're interested in being involved with or interested in seeing develop? Is there one of the ideas that you heard today and you're like, yeah, you know what? I'd want that to exist in the world. And so everybody raise your hands. You can just raise your real hands, just to say, hey, I heard something today that I was like, oh yeah, this is cool.
And Tito, just another comment. I think another thing, and I've talked.
And keep your hands up. Hold on a second, Adam. I'm just going to get everybody's hands. Everybody else. Let's see. I'm looking at if you have your camera off, you can raise your virtual hand. But awesome. I see tons of people that are raising their hands for there was something that came up today. Maybe it's something somebody said. Maybe it's even something somebody said, and then you had a different idea about it. Awesome. Thanks everybody. Adam, and you had a question or something you were pointing out?
And I've raised this before. I think some people or some groups or some co-op or air miners also need to address the messaging at a climate influencer level. The Jonathan Foleys of the world need to be talking better about carbon dioxide removal, direct air capture, rock weathering, all of that. That really needs to happen because those people are going to lead the rest of the whatever market, journalists, press, whatever, into the area that they're more positive about it.
Yep, absolutely. Right. Working with people that are already connected, that already have voices. And it starts with us. It's the people in this room who are here, who are listening, who are raising their hands, who are hearing something that's like, hey, look, these things are cool. I want something like this to exist. So we had a lot of people raise their hands for how many people want to be involved. And I'd love for I'd love for this to be an environment where we turn these ideas into action, right? We don't want this to be a meeting that you went to and you had some good ideas. Mahatma Gandhi said that all good thoughts and ideas mean nothing without action. And so yeah, is there anybody that wants to come up and say, kind of an idea that they heard about and something that they want to be involved in, or what it would mean if one of these things became real? Would love to hear from folks about that who want to take action.
Hi.
Hey, Jack. Jack, I saw your hand up.
I'm just
And
unmuting.
Philip, I'll get
I don't
you after
want to
that.
talk too much, but I love the idea of messaging. I feel it's something that AirMiners already is leading the spear on, right? You guys are the point of the spear. We are the point of the spear. If we can clarify, just instead of decarbonization first, remove what's left. I mean, that message has been ingrained in all of us for 30 years, as long as I've been an adult. And there are reasons for that, right? We don't want to allow polluters to keep. There's all these counter messages that combat the idea that carbon removal needs elevated to the same level as decarbonization. But if we can start to tear apart that basic understanding as being flawed, and that carbon removal is a core component of the message, then that spreads globally, right? I mean, we just need to figure out how to do that tactically. And I think that would have a huge influence on everybody in the space, on people that are participating at the policy level, governments, players in the space itself, within the industry. It just feels like it has the ability to influence everybody. So it's one thing we can do, it influences everybody, but then we need to figure out how to tactically deploy it. Those are my thoughts.
Cool. I love that. Thanks, Jack. Philip.
Yeah, hi, Tito. Tito, I think one of the important things is that we, within the groups, or let's say within the different types of carbon capture, there's no competition. It's all complementary. One company doesn't have to be kind of thinking that they're missing out on either on investors or opportunities by competing with other companies. If that starts, we're going to ruin it. We really want to be supporting and have this kind of cooperative kind of like co-op, where different groups are really supporting each other in every way possible, because that's the only way to do it. And just to follow up on the last speaker, I think your man, the head of the UN, whatever, the general director or director general, he came out yesterday and said something that air capture is as important as well as stopping emissions. So that's, let's say, good news from the UN.
Awesome. Thanks for that. Philip, how, are you willing to take action on going after that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
All right. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely.
I wanted to bring Jack back too and ask Jack, I wanted to ask you about that. I totally got the vision for the messaging. Are you willing to take action on making that real?
Yeah, I'd love to work with a core group of folks who want to push it forward, and I'm happy to contribute time and energy to try and make it happen. It ultimately needs turned from a strategy into tactics, but yeah, I'd be happy to be part of that.
Awesome. I love that. All right. Anybody else who's willing to take action on the ideas that you talked about, or an idea that you heard here today?
This is
John.
Julia from American Biocarbon.
Oh, hey, Julia.
Hi, I've been thinking a lot about my experience in healthcare, and we used to organize groups of hospital CEOs and other administrators to kind of get in a room together, right group of stakeholders, hunker down, come up with a test of change, an idea and improvement that doesn't require the entire industry to shift or validate, that they can take the work that they now believe in because they were a part of it and go out and try it tomorrow in their domain. So I think these collaborative small tests of change where we work out some of the pain points, some of the things that are slowing us down, if we can solve those problems on a small scale and demonstrate what's possible, then that could accelerate change in the rest of the industry.
Awesome. I love that. Are you wanting to take action on that?
Yeah, I am. I have been thinking about it a lot. I just need to start by getting the right group of stakeholders together. So I welcome ideas about that.
Awesome. Thank you, Julia. John Slack.
Hi. So I actually think I maybe want to piggyback a little bit on what Julia just said. So where I was going to go was that our breakout session was essentially entirely founders, which I was not expecting. And it turned out that it seemed like at least a few of us could really legitimately tactically support each other in collaborative ways. We didn't get to dive in too much to those details, but it seems like there's a miss here if we don't take some action to actually like, oh, wow, there's a cool thing here that we could connect on. So maybe there is some way that the AirMiners Slack could actually, in a real manner, get people whose ideas can actually synergize with each other and make each other more real and actionable. And I'd be happy to help facilitate a new channel potentially. Julia, I know if you have other thoughts too, happy to get involved at any level with whoever organizes new things. So there may need to be a little bit of algorithmic understanding of making a list of what sort of are the needs and capabilities of various members and see how we can connect lines to each other.
Cool. I freaking love that. And I see Matt Schmidt in the chat saying he's happy to support that too. Matt, you're welcome
I
to
just
come on.
want to, if
Hey,
I may,
Jason.
yeah, I mean, happy to talk about how we can structure the channels. We also have ideas, needs, and leads out there, which is, a channel that has a lot of ideas that you put out there and where people can ask, how can I get a need that I have fulfilled?
Yeah, thanks for that, Jason. Awesome. Thanks, John. And it sounds so, I got it. You're willing to take action on this. Love it. Daniel, what do you got? What do you are you willing to take action on? Where'd Daniel go?
Here.
Hey, there you are.
Hey, what's up? It was really nice to see you again, Tito, Jason.
Yeah, good to see you.
I'm right now at an accelerator program here at DC. We're raising capital to scale up our technology. Pretty much, we're taking action to get help to be more prepared because we have a showcase on June 26th, I believe, on Wednesdays, where a bunch of investors are coming down to the showcase event, and we're just really hoping to have some more help to have like feedback about how we're presenting the business. In one sentence, we're using electrochemical processes to reduce byproducts coming out directly from carbon emissions of the ceramic industry, and we're doing ethanol, ethylene, formic acid, and also activated carbon from those exhausts. Yep. So
okay, thanks for that, Daniel. We'll do one last quick one. Alex, what are you willing to take action on?
Oh, shoot. Well, I was going to comment on an idea about the kind of carbon influencers and changing the national conversation about removal.
Yeah,
And
is that something that
me
you're interested in taking action on?
I mean, yeah, I don't really know how. And basically, I
Yeah.
wanted to ask
Yeah.
getting an op-ed in the New York Times, which you tried to do a month or two ago, seemed like a really, really good way to do it, given the kind of reach that the New York Times has.
Yeah.
Did that go anywhere? Or is there anything that we can do to help follow up on that? Because I think that was a really could be a potentially really effective way to get CDR into the national psyche or whatever.
Yeah, totally. I think what Jack was talking about is that's really where that conversation went, is like, okay, this is national psyche, global psyche. I love the telethon idea. So here's where I'm going to go with that, Alex, and just all the other ideas and the actions that people came up with today. I wanted to invite all of you to join us. We're going to be hosting on Thursday, June 27th at 9 a.m. We're going to be hosting a working session, a coaching session with myself, with Adina, with other air miners in the community. And so if you're interested in being involved, if you're interested in taking action on these things, we're going to drop the registration link in the chat, and you can sign up there. And so if there was an idea today that you heard that you want to be involved with in some way, maybe you just want to hear like how it continues to get developed, or maybe you have something that you want to add to it, or something you want to contribute to it, sign up for that. It starts at 9 a.m. On June 27th. And that's Thursday. And so it's going to be myself and Adina, and you're going to be working alongside other air miners. And so I also heard that, many of you said, I don't know how this is going to happen. We are going to work with you to get you the tools to get you to the how, right? Like, I mean, I hear lots of things and I'm like, gosh, I don't know how that's going to work either. But the purpose of this session on the 27th is we're going to give you the tools to get you to the how, and then have the howing. So really appreciate all the perspective today, and the sharing from all the different ideas people had. So if there's things that you said you were going to do, put those things onto your calendar. If you want to, register for the session on the 27th, just click the link in the chat there. You just have to put in your first name, your last name, your email address, and we'll take the rest of it from there. It's called AirMiners Project Follow-Up on the Zoom link. So if that's a fit for you, hit that right now. And would love to see you there. I mean, really, if it's something that you're like, gosh, I just want to hear how these ideas develop, or you're like, look, I want to have a whole team that helps me with this with this particular idea that you want to develop. That's the place to be. So I want to acknowledge everybody for being here. I know that there were, as we started, there were groups that shifted, there were people that popped out. You are the ones that are here. You're here in this room. You're here having this conversation. You're here sharing ideas. You're here listening to other people's ideas, right? It's you. It's us. We're the ones that are really out to reverse climate change. And I really want to thank you for being here, and acknowledge you for being here, and with your ideas, and how you're speaking to each other, and how you're listening to each other in your groups, and in this big Zoom room. So this is it, and I really appreciate all of you. And I look forward to seeing many of you at the session on the 27th.